After taking part in many discussions and reading different theories, I noticed a general trend. There are a lot of people who believe that the town and everything happening there is just Ethan's or Victor's imagination, that everything is simply a story being told, and that in the end we'll see the book closing with a happily ever after. I always disregarded these kinds of theories because the show's creators specifically stated that this is not a purgatory. The characters are not dead, and it's not a dream. Even with that direct confirmation, many people still believe these theories. So in today's video, I'm going to address all of those points and explain why Fromville is a real place. I think this idea started to take shape at the end of Season 1, when Tabitha discovered that the electrical wires didn't lead anywhere. After the introduction of the children, this theory became even more popular. Here's the general outline of it. Fromville is a story. It's about the Chromonocle, and Ethan or Victor is the author. This theory is based on the fact that everything in the town doesn't make logical sense. Take the electricity, for example. A child knows that when you flip a switch, the light turns on, but they don't understand how the entire electrical system works. That's why we see empty cables and wires that lead nowhere. Strangely enough, there is still electricity in Fromville, even though the infrastructure is missing. Another example is the monsters, which are very stereotypical. A nurse, a mechanic, a cowboy. There are even some interesting theories suggesting that they represent the old maid game. I think there's something deeper here, so if you're curious, it's worth looking into. The town's layout also feels random. You have a big house on a hill, a motel sign but no motel, a sheriff's station, a gas station, and a hospital. Yet you're missing other common buildings like a pub or a shop. Again, a child would know that a town should have a school, but might not think about including a pub. The way food and animals appear randomly in the forest is another example. But the biggest argument, in my opinion, is the monsters themselves. What are children most afraid of when they're little? The Boogeyman. And these monsters resemble that fear. You only see them at night, and if you don't follow the rules, stay inside and keep your doors and windows shut, they will kill you. So how do you protect yourself? With something magical like a blanket or talisman. That's why the monsters can't enter protected houses, just like a fort you would build as a child. When you add to this the importance of stories and the repeated references to the Chromonocle, it's no surprise that this theory became extremely popular and is often seen as the true explanation behind the show's mystery. As I said in the beginning, I always disregarded these kinds of theories, even before hearing the show's creators debunk them. For me, the reason was simple. When the show begins, it doesn't start with Ethan listening to a story. It begins with the town, with Boyd ringing his bell, announcing that it's time for everyone to get home. And the series immediately shows us what happens if you don't follow the rules. You get killed by the monsters. Only after we are shown this sequence does the story shift to the Matthews family and the Chromonocle. This means that the town existed long before Ethan arrived. The same can be said about Victor. If we follow basic storytelling principles, the fact that we are first presented with the town and the consequences of opening the door. And then, in the very next scene, we hear a story about the Lake of Tears, fairies, and how Norman couldn't be killed because monsters don't exist, suggests something important. Ethan's story doesn't mean he created the town, it shows us how to escape it. In Scene 1, you are presented with a problem. In Scene 2, you are given a hint toward the solution, not the other way around. Here's the showrunner statement. Big shout out to Emmanuel for those incredible interviews.
Are there any theories that are out there that you can safely debunk?
It's not purgatory, and it's not a dream.
Okay.
Patrick Duffy is not going to come out of the shower at the end of the series finale and say, "Hey, how you doing?" For those that I just dated myself, Dallas, look it up, Patrick Duffy. But Jeff might have a longer list, but I think that not purgatory, not a dream. They're not dead.
Now, let's say you're skeptical and don't believe them. You might think they said that to misdirect us. I don't believe that's the case because it would have massive repercussions for the show if, in the end, it turned out they lied. We've seen what can happen. Look at Stranger Things when the Duffer Brothers promised a dark Christmas and didn't fully deliver. Fans were not happy. The show producers have no reason to lie. They even gave us a big hint in Season 3 that Fromville is a real place, when Tabitha returns to the real world and calls her mother. In storytelling, you don't include scenes just to fill time. Everything on screen serves a purpose. And the purpose of that scene is to prove that Fromville is real. During the call, you can see her mother's desperation, asking where she's been, saying that everyone is looking for Jim and the kids. A police officer even gave her a card in case she had any information. She begs Tabitha to stay on the phone. They're both crying. This clearly suggests that they've been missing for some time, and people are actively looking for them, meaning that disappearing into Fromville has real consequences in the outside world. When Tabitha goes to see Henry, she shows him an online article about her family being missing, again reinforcing the idea that they haven't been found and therefore cannot be declared dead. They didn't die. They simply disappeared during their road trip. And if that still doesn't convince you, this next point should. There were theories suggesting that Tabitha never actually returned to the real world, that it was all a dream. But think about this. If everything was just a story or a dream, how do you explain that she came back with 2 other people? If it's all fictional, how could she bring others with her? I believe these 2 elements alone are enough to prove that Fromville is a real place. I've always wondered what the purpose of Tabitha's return was, why that was the only way. Initially, I had 2 theories. First, that she needed to see Miranda's drawings to understand the idea of reincarnation. Second, that Henry or Acosta might play a role in freeing the children. But now I have another idea. What if the purpose was to show that escape is actually possible? Tabitha is living proof. Before, the townspeople only had hope. Now they have evidence. That's why I found their reaction to her frustrating, blaming her for not rescuing them. Tabitha was right. If she had gone to the police, she would have been labeled insane and likely locked up. None of them believed the place was real on their first night there. They only accepted it after seeing it with their own eyes. Now imagine this. A woman who disappeared with her family suddenly shows up alone at a police station, claiming she was trapped in a town where monsters come out at night and kill you unless you stay inside, and that she escaped by being pushed out of a lighthouse back into the real world. She would almost certainly be accused of killing her own family. It's true that Abby's ghost told Boyd that the place feeds on hope, not fear, but can we really trust her? She could have said that just to stop Boyd from destroying the music box. We actually see a recurring pattern in the series. When Boyd shouts into the forest that the place can't break him, the monsters immediately change their behavior. They become smarter, start ambushing people, and target those close to him. Then Fatima becomes pregnant with the creature Boyd killed. It feels like the place is actively trying to prove him wrong, that it can break him, just like everyone else. One particular line from Kenny really stuck with me. Early on, when he shows Jade the map, he says, "Every new person who comes here assumes that the monsters are the worst thing they have to be afraid of. But that's not the hardest part. It's what this place does to you, what it makes you think and feel." A lot of people took Abby's statement at face value that the forest feeds on hope, but to me it looks like the exact opposite. This place does everything it can to destroy hope. You think you're making progress, that you might actually find a way home, something terrible happens. You try to build an antenna to contact the outside world, a storm destroys it. You think you're safe because you managed to kill a monster? A new threat appears, one that can kill you in your sleep. Every step forward is met with 2 steps back. Eventually, people start to give up. They adapt. They settle into life there, just like Donna did. Fatima might be the best example of this. She was one of the most optimistic people in the colony, the one who kept everyone's spirits up. If this place is trying to destroy hope, then she would be the perfect target. Her pregnancy with Smiley could be the result of that shift, of losing that hope. Because if the place actually fed on hope, then it would make more sense for it to protect someone like Fatma, to keep hope alive and spreading. But instead, it does the opposite. That's why I believe hope isn't what the place feeds on, it's what threatens it. Hope is what pushes people to keep searching for answers. Hope is what drives them to find a way home. And that's exactly why Tabitha's return to the real world is so important. It proves that escape is possible. That kind of hope can't be ignored. Now, the people don't just have blind faith, they have evidence. A real goal. Before, building the antenna was just a shot in the dark. But reaching the lighthouse? That's proof. Another key clue that supports the idea that Fromville is real is the fact that people had visions or dreams about the place long before they ever arrived there. Tabitha had nightmares about it as a child, long before Ethan was even born. Miranda had visions of it before she became pregnant with Victor. The amount of evidence clearly tips the balance toward Fromville being a real place. They are trapped somewhere. Whether it's a pocket dimension or an entirely separate reality governed by a mysterious entity, we don't know yet. But I'm confident we'll learn more in Season 4. Everything we've seen so far, from the dates carved into the lighthouse to the Civil War soldier, suggests that Fromville exists on a different plane or frequency of reality, rather than being a shared dream across generations. In conclusion, based on everything we've seen so far, there's no way this is all just happening in Ethan's imagination or inside a storybook. Fromville is real. The people there are real. And they are desperately trying to find a way back home. I'm more than happy to hear your opinion in the comments. And if you disagree, I'm ready to debate it. Thanks for watching.